I told you now. I'm like, I say a curse word in like the first 10 seconds. She's like, you what? Oh, it's not my fault. It's Jamel.
Oh, blame it on me. You're the one who said it.
Hey, man.
Son of a bitch. Sound you hear pulsing through your ear holes, that's the Stream Team Podcast, Episode 3. I'm your host, Jamel Singleton, and joining me is
Joe Holt.
If this is your first time listening to the Stream Team, here's the scoop. We start with a feature called Press Rewind, a recap of what we've been watching, playing, or reading. Then, we'll segue into a discussion of our favorite news stories from the past week. Finally, we'll roll into an in-depth review. This week's review is Sam Raimi's suspense thriller, The Gift. Yo, Joe, why don't you start us off?
So, this week, I've been mostly playing a game.
What?
What? I know. It's this new thing. You may have heard of it. It's called video games. Are you familiar with the term?
Vidya games?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. But, it's pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. One of my good buddies, Patrick, took pity on me in my game Solitude and purchased a video game called Bioshock 2 for me through Steam Online. So I could download the game and download the whole platform and all that kind of stuff, gearing up for a new game that just came out called Bioshock Infinite.
You were right. I can't control it. It's not possible! Elizabeth!
Well, with what just happened, do you really want to take bets on what's possible?
I assume you've heard of this, Mr. Gamer.
Oh, yes.
So I've seen the trailers for Bioshock Infinite. Patrick also played them for me when he was in town last year, and both of us just got really excited about it. He had known about it before. It was the first time I'd ever seen it, but it looked awesome. The gameplay looked cool, the players, the story, and the game just came out this last week, and everything I'm hearing about it is that it is awesome. So, again, he took pity on me and bought me Bioshock 2. So I've been playing that game. I'm only maybe 45 minutes into it, something like that. But it's an interesting introduction to this world, this undersea world. I don't really know how to explain it. I'm playing a dude in a huge underwater diving suit, and there's a creepy little girl with glowing eyes that I'm trying to help, and because I haven't played a game one, BioShock. I haven't played the original, so
right. You missed out on a couple years worth of memes about BioShock.
Yeah. So Big Daddy and
Big Daddy, little sister. So I've seen all sorts of stuff for it over the years. I've just never played it. So I'm trying not to play or even really look up anything from the first game, the original. I'm trying just to see what it tells me in this game. That's all the information I have. So it's a little stilted. I guess it would be like playing Portal 2 before playing Portal 1 or something. Right.
But I'm still having a blast. So the majority of my week has been playing Bioshock 2. And so far, like I said, it's been a lot of fun.
That's great. I mean, I actually, we talked a little bit about it offline. I actually really enjoyed Bioshock 2. It's a very good game. It's just very different from Bioshock 1. And the comparison you made between Portal and Portal 2 is a great comparison, because in the same way Portal was this game of discovery, and then Portal 2 became more of a video game, more of playtime. Like, it lets you go into the world and use all of the tools you find or you pick up as you move through the world to do really great things. Bioshock 2 gives you more of the tools that you only got, a little bit of time with in the first Bioshock, and lets you go into the world and really use them. All the guns and all the different powers. Bioshock 2 is really about using those powers and things. And one thing that might surprise you is in Bioshock 1, you can't dual wield, so you can only use a power or use a gun, and you have to switch back and forth between the two. Whereas in Bioshock 2, you have, you can have a power in one hand and a gun in the other, and
literally you're hitting left mouse or whatever. I'm playing on the computer, so on my laptop. So left mouse for gun and right mouse for power.
Right. It's far more action oriented than the first Bioshock. So
sure,
it will be interesting to see, eventually if you get around the Bioshock, what you think of that game, because it's definitely a more slower paced game, and the gameplay is a lot more methodical, but at the same time it's a lot more creative because the enemies moving around the world are a little bit more random. You may walk into a room and see some splicers fighting with the Big Daddy, and you can kind of just ease out of the room or kind of just sit back in the corner and just let it play out and not do anything. And you encounter stuff like that all the time in the first Bioshock. And the second one, you encounter stuff like that as well, but it's all scripted. So
right.
It never feels really random. It feels like, if you die and you go back into that room again, you realize, oh, yeah, the same thing is going to happen again. So it's a really good game. I think you'll enjoy it very much. It definitely has a better ending than the first Bioshock. The first Bioshock was critically, a lot of people complained about the ending and the final boss fight of the first Bioshock. So they fixed a lot of that in Bioshock 2.
Cool. Thanks, man. I'm happy to give it a shot, and I really appreciate. Shout out to Patrick for getting it for me. I'll have to try Bioshock Infinite when I finish this one. I'm excited about that. I'm really excited about that.
Definitely. And when Patrick is in town, we'll have to get him on the show. And I can yell at him for giving you Bioshock 2 before giving you Bioshock 1.
All right. So that's my one thing. I'll let you go next. What have you been up to?
All right. So I've been watching a lot of TV with my lady, my special lady friend. And,
That makes it sound like you have a mistress. Please just say my wife or the love of my life or something to that effect.
Yeah, it's way more kinky when I say special lady friend. So
that is 100% true.
Me and my special lady friend have been kicking it on the couch, watching the boob tube. And one of the things we enjoyed watching was Downton Abbey Season 3. And we ended up buying that on Blu-ray and just pumping through all of that season really quickly. And we were kind of just looking for other things to watch. And one of the things we found and started watching through Amazon Prime is a show called Tess of the D'Urbervilles.
You danced there once. A May Day some years ago. You can come back when you want. Just know that I'll be here. Mother, I'll go. That's what you want. I will go. Claim kin.
I'm Mr. D'Urberville.
Why didn't you tell me there was danger? Why didn't you warn me? Oh, Tess. And I fear that I can never be...
This is a show starring Gemma Atherton. You know her from Casino Royale? No, actually, she's in Quantum of Solace. She's one of the Bond girls in Quantum of Solace. She's in Hansel and Gretel. What else is she in? She was in Clash of the Titans, if you dare watch that terrible movie, as well. She's kind of one of the highlights of the movie. Gorgeous, gorgeous woman, of course. Everybody knows who she is. In this movie, she's much younger than you're used to seeing her. She's probably in her late teens to early 20s. Or actually, I shouldn't say movie. It's a TV show. It's a 4-episode BBC TV series.
Like a
based on a book. Yeah, it's a miniseries based on a book. And like many of the BBC shows, it's basically, four really long episodes. It's almost like a 2-part movie cut up into separate pieces. So, each episode's about an hour and 15 minutes. And the basic plot is Gemma Atherton plays Tess Durbeyfield, and she's sent off to work for a rich cousin of hers when her parents, who are kind of hard up for money, learn that he might be distantly related and a little bit well-to-do with money and things like that. So she goes out there trying to find work with him, and he instantly falls in love with her and just continues to try to seduce her, and she keeps pushing him away because she's, church-going girl, she's a virtuous woman, basically. And one night, he finally, after chasing her, he just forces himself on her, and leaves her pregnant and ashamed. And you've got this woman in this situation where she's basically becoming undesirable in her village because of this. A woman doesn't have a child out of wedlock, and it's a very Christian village she lives in, and she has to deal with the villagers and the people and the fact that she's had this child, and this jerk who's kind of just left her high and dry. It puts her in a position where she's facing extreme hardship trying to work and take care of her child, and just a lot of misfortune. It was an interesting show. It starts off really good and really enjoyable. It's full of melodrama. It's just like melodrama, like most of these British shows are from those times. But as it goes on, each episode, it just gets more and more depressing watching the stuff she's going through. And there are moments, high points, where things seem to be looking up for her, only to be followed by times getting worse than they were before. It's they bring you up to kick you back down, and not only kick you back down to the same step you were on, but kick you down lower.
It wouldn't be British TV if they didn't, right?
Yeah, and there's a few times where it feels like it's going to end, and it feels like it's about to end on a bummer, and it just keeps on going, and it feels like it's going to end again, and it's even worse bummer than the first time.
Oh, man.
So it's one of those shows. I don't know. I kind of want to recommend it because it was an interesting watch, but towards the end, between the constant bummers and some really weird writing that had the characters do some odd things that felt, I know it's based on a book, and I wonder if maybe some details were left out that would explain why the characters started behaving so erratically towards the end. But, the behavior becomes really hard to deal with and really hard to follow. You start to wonder, what the hell are these people doing? Why is she doing that? Why is he doing that? But it all ends so depressingly that after going through an hour or two of all of this weird behavior and finally ending on a bummer, it left me with a really sour note. But thinking back, it wasn't a sour experience all the way through. So I'd give it kind of a moderate booster. Hey, maybe you might like to see this if this kind of thing is your thing. If you like Downton Abbey, this might interest you a little bit, So, Tess of the D'Urbervilles.
Nice, man. And I like the idea that even though the movie, or in this case the TV show, can be good, keep you entertained or whatnot, there could be certain notes in the movie that could sour the experience in general. Like I think of like if you're eating like a really good like chicken sandwich, and you get to like the last 2 bites or even the last bite, and you get like a piece of gristle, and you're like, right. F this sandwich, like I'm done with this. Yeah. Meanwhile, the rest of it's probably been tasty and delicious, but that last bite can either make it or break it in some ways. You lick your fingers clean when it's perfect, and you're so happy. Other times, like I said, you get that gross gristle piece, and you're like, oh man, this is horrible. I'm gonna complain.
You have an incredible way with words, sir.
Incredible.
You're a wordsmith.
Well, thank you. No, I actually, so this wasn't on my list tonight, but I'll make it fast. I had a similar discussion with my wife about the movie Hugo. Mm-hmm. Have you seen Hugo?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Maybe we need to do a stream team on it then, because she suggested it, and I said, no, everybody's seen that movie. It, scored all sorts of Oscars. It's just overplayed. But,
shamed.
There's hey man, I just saw it like a week ago, so maybe 2 weeks ago. There's just a couple of things about the movie that I felt could have been better, and it's all character development, it's all dialogue and the real big meaty character development scenes. And because of those, I didn't give it 4 stars, really good. I gave it 3 stars, good. And Janelle was telling me, like, you gave it the same score you gave the Osama bin Laden movie. And I said, well, yeah, like I don't need to watch it again. Had they gotten these other pieces correct, these really big kind of character pieces, I would probably watch it several times. But because of these kind of weird ways they treated it, or you took a really important scene and made it not so important, I don't really feel like it really hit the mark, and
that's the problem with review scores. I'm not a really big fan of review scores. I feel like it should be a little bit more binary. It should be like, watch this, rent it, buy it, kind of thing. Like, buy it. That means I loved it. It was so awesome.
I'm going to watch it 18 times in my life at least. Yeah,
exactly. Or say rent it. Don't pay too much for that movie.
Exactly. When we first hopped on, you were talking about. I was asking you what you were up to, and you said you were actually watching Serenity before you came up here. I mean, it's exactly like that. I can watch Serenity pretty much any day of the week. You know what I mean? That is a buy it, pass it on to my children kind of movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe we do need to have our own system. We talk about like on Netflix, I gave it 3 stars, but I would say it's a rental.
Yeah, it means nothing, Yeah, and it does come back to that thing, like well, why'd you give it 3 stars? Well, because I'd recommend it. I didn't love it, and even Netflix's own descriptions of what these things mean. I'll want to give a movie 2 stars, and they'll be like saying
didn't like it.
Netflix will say didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like, well, actually, I liked it. It's just
on a scale of 1 to 5. I didn't love it, or really, yeah. I
right,
agree.
and it often depends on what you just watched as well. So it's like if I just watched the movie that I thought was a 3-star, and I'm like, well, this movie isn't as good as that movie, but I still think it's worth watching. I want to give it 2 stars, but Netflix says I don't like it.
Stupid Netflix.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay, so speaking of, I'll go to my second thing here, and I'll try to make it faster. I know I've been talking for a while. The Adventures of Tintin was the movie that I watched this week.
Thanks. I'm Tintin, by the way.
Haddock. Archibald Haddock. Someone's opened the door.
The keys, Snowy. Not the sandwich. The keys.
How could you let them escape?
If Sakharine finds the ship before we do, it's over.
This isn't just a ship. Yours vengeance.
Tintin,
Look.
This may sound crazy, but I've got a plan.
excellent.
On paper, there should be nothing I don't like about this movie. It was directed by Steven Spielberg, written by Edgar Wright, the guy who did Shaun of the Dead. It stars Jamie Bell as the voice of Tintin, Andy Serkis, Mr. Gollum himself, who plays this captain, this drunk captain in the movie. Daniel Craig as the voice of the bad guy. Nick Frost and Simon Pegg as these 2 kind of keystone cops, these idiot cops. So, like, kind of an all-star voice cast with Steven Spielberg using amazing motion capture animation. Like, some of the characters seriously looked real. They did a really good job with it. The problem was, I didn't give a crap about the story. I didn't give a crap about the characters. The world that they created didn't seem real at all. So whenever anybody was in danger, I wasn't worried. It seemed like I heard a review this week about The Hobbit, where a lot of the Hobbit movie defies the laws of physics. So there's a scene in The Hobbit where this bridge is crashing down, and all the main characters are on the bridge as it's crashing, and it just keeps dropping. And at no point in that movie was I ever worried about the guys on the bridge. In this very perilous situation, they're falling hundreds of feet. Not once was I concerned. Much the same with Tintin. At no point did I feel like Tintin or really any of the characters were in mortal danger. And I don't think that was just because of the animation or the CGI aspect of it. I think it was just the rules they set up for it, or the way they went about showing how things fall or how things move. It just seemed... There's like a 3-minute chase scene where Tintin is literally like hanging on to wires flying through the air. And with each time, it just gets worse and worse. He's on a motorcycle, and then the motorcycle explodes, and then he's holding onto the handlebars of the motorcycle and still sliding along this wire. And then the handlebars break, and he's grabbing onto something else. He's got like a hook or something. Like that would never happen. Like, I get it. It's 3D. It's computer animation. Like, we can do whatever we want. But the problem is the risk that you run is that at no point do I ever feel like the character is in peril and or really doing anything crazy, like hard. Everything looks easy. he gets off and he pretty much like dusts himself off. Yeah. Dude just fell hundreds of feet down these wires or whatever. If it was a real person, I don't care who you are. This kid's like, what, late teens, early 20s? I have to change my pants, if you know what I mean, my underwear. And this kid just acts like, oh, another day at the office. And maybe
I think part of it is the art design as well.
Oh, yeah?
I think that they kind of got themselves in this position where they needed to kind of shit or get off the pot, basically. It's like, are you going to do animation or are you going to do realistic?
Oh, sure.
And they landed somewhere in the middle where it's not quite realistic, but it's realistic enough that you get this weird uncanny valley with things.
Yeah, and that makes sense. You look at a movie like we talked about Wreck-It Ralph a few weeks back. Total animated movie. I didn't give a crap about the physics. People flying all over the place. Dude falls onto this big rock candy mountain kind of thing. And I was like, big rock candy mountain. But you're right. You're 100% right. Meanwhile, Tintin, it's kind of playing the middle between the two. And it can't. Because either you want it to be realistic or you want it to be cartoony and animated and you're okay with letting go of that realism.
It's the type of cartoony, too. It's because it's based off of Tintin and they base the design very much off of the original comic strip. It has that very comic strip look to it, almost like an Archie comic or something like that.
Right.
Where nothing dangerous ever really happens in those books, and so I don't know. It's this ingrained sense of security with everything when you're looking at it. You feel like he's totally safe, even when really violent things are happening. And there's some pretty strong violence in this movie.
Yeah,
which is one of the problems I had because it's
it's supposed to be kids.
It is billed as a kid. Yeah, it's billed as a kids movie, and it does get pretty violent. There's actually a scene in the movie where somebody gets killed. They fall on the floor, and there's a pool of blood forming around them, which surprised me. I wasn't expecting to see that, and it was pretty harsh to see something like that in this. And I think it felt more harsh than it was because of the cartooniness of it. But when the camera really gets moving and the action really gets going, that's when I think things get blurry enough that it really feels like a cartoon. So then that's where you kind of start to feel like they're never in danger, there's never any danger to the characters. But then when things slow down, it's when you begin to see all the detail very closely of everything, and it starts to feel more realistic. You start to see the fibers in the clothes, you start to see the little freckles on Tintin's face and things like that.
Right.
And it feels far more realistic, and it's almost like you kind of segue into this weird feeling of realism and a more realistic world. Yeah, you have these characters with these cartoony giant heads and giant eyes that keep kind of pulling you back. I know it's weird. It's ugly, is the best way to describe it.
Sure.
Tintin is kind of disturbing looking. A cartoon character. I mean, if you saw Charlie Brown and they rendered him to look like a real person with, kind of the little marks and wrinkles and things that you find on a person's skin, he would look rather disturbing.
I think someone actually sculpted Charlie Brown.
Right, and you see those on the internet.
It looks bad,
terrifying. Yeah, somebody did that with Homer Simpson as well. It just looks terrifying.
Yeah,
did you ever
see the Family Guy episode where they did Peter in like 3D realism?
No.
Peter Griffin. It was horrifying. Yeah, just horrifying.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. You got to do one thing or the other. I think Steven Spielberg is kind of peaked a while ago, and now he's just out there playing around.
That's a shame.
I'm not sure if we'll get something a really serious, well done movie from him again, unless it's just some kind of passion project that comes up, like James Cameron's Avatar or something like that, where
something he's been wanting to do for
like he had
decades.
To do. Right.
Well, thanks, man. So that's me. That's me for my press rewind.
All right. Cool. Well, I did watch one other thing. As usual, I watched many things, but I had to pick. And so the one thing I did want to talk about is the British TV series Luther.
So many times I've tried to help people by doing things that I shouldn't have done, and it's only made it worse.
There is a plan, right?
Look at me. Do I look like I'm joking?
The people around you are vampires. They'll suck your veins dry, crack open your bones, and lick out the marrow.
You in trouble?
No! Ah!
Things are a little messy. I'm working it out.
Again, missing Downton Abbey, wanting something to fill that spot. Luther, which is starring Idris Elba. It's TV series. 2 seasons of it are available on Netflix for Netflix Instant Watch users. He's a police detective who is just brilliant, and he spends a lot of his time working on these crazy serial killer cases. And he also has a great deal of personal issues that he's dealing with as well. He is estranged from his wife. He's working really hard at trying to save that relationship, which has been put where it is because of his dedication to his job and how much working on these crazy cases takes out of him and the type of person it turns him into. So the show is just about him trying to balance the two, his relationship with his wife and trying to bring that back together and dealing with just these amazing, amazing cases where these serial killers do some of the most disturbing and creative things I think I've ever seen in a TV serial before. A really impressive show, incredible performances all around. Every single actor and actress in the show is just top notch, and they really play their roles. It really pulls you in. You just get sucked into the world and sucked into these cases, and it can be at times just gut wrenching to watch what's going on screen. Fantastic show.
I feel like it's a few years old. Yeah.
Season 2 is not that old. I think right now they're filming season 3.
Okay.
So the show is going to go a little bit longer, but yeah, it's very much like Sherlock. It's part of this new wave of BBC TV with all these really strong shows.
The writer for, or I should say the creator for Luther, I was just looking it up, is also one of the writers on the movie Mama that just came out a little while ago.
Yes, I think I might have seen that movie.
Yeah. Just throwing that out there. there.
Yeah, we'll have to watch that again now with that in mind.
Not really.
No? Can't watch it. You want to watch Mama again?
I'm good.
Oh,
I'm good. Cool.
Yeah, so that's it for me. I mean, I think looking at our show notes, that's it for Press Rewind. Do you want to talk about some news? Hot news?
You know I do. So my news for this time, watching you on the computer, it's beautiful. My news for this week. Last time I spoke about the Iron Man 3 trailer. I believe I called it the Iron Man 2 3 trailer. Yeah, right. Basically, I'm horrible at math and numbers. The newest Iron Man 3 trailer, which shows a little bit more Tony Stark, but also badass, shows Gwyneth Paltrow in the Iron Man getup. Did you see that? Gwyneth Paltrow suits up in the latest trailer.
I didn't see that.
Oh, you got to check it out. It's pretty badass.
So I saw a photo of that, and I thought it was just some Photoshop thing.
It looks a little bit like it, even in the video. It's so fast, but she even has like a good one-liner in there. It's good. You got to check it out. So yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow in her own Iron Man suit looks badass. Another trailer that looks badass, the Wolverine trailer premiered this week.
I did see that.
What'd you think?
Holy cow! So
right?
I was completely uninterested in this movie because we've talked about it before. I don't think Hugh Jackman is a good pick for Wolverine. I never have. Never thought it was a great character as it's been depicted on film. And that last movie was kind of my proof of that. And
that was
just
horrible
absolutely terrible movie. So to even be thinking about this movie, I had when David Fincher was it David Fincher? No, was it David Fincher or Darren Aronofsky? David Fincher. When David Fincher was going to be directing the Wolverine, I was very interested in it just because I had no idea what was going to happen. And when he walked away from it, as everybody kind of was expecting he might, after winning all those awards for, I believe at the time it was The Wrestler or Black Swan.
No, that's Aronofsky. Yeah,
it was
Black Swan, I think.
Yeah, it was Black Swan. Yeah. So, yeah, after winning those awards for Black Swan, everybody was kind of expecting him to walk away because you don't do the Black Swan, win all those awards, and then go do the friggin' Wolverine with Hugh Jackman. So,
what are you
James
talking
Mangold
about?
I know. James Mangold stepped in and From the looks of the trailer, Mr. Mangold might be quite legit. Might have been able to do it.
You know, even more so than the director, man, the story that they're choosing to tell, when I first heard about it, I thought, I don't care about this. So Wolverine goes to whatever, like Japan, and he has his adventures there with his little Japanese girl, and they're ninjas and whatever. This looks stupid. And the trailer that they showed a damn near like human Logan. You know what I mean? Like he's getting cut, he's getting shot, and he's not healing. Like that was the major crux of the trailer. And I thought that concept, like whoever thought of that, I want to give that writer high five. Like that was golf clap. That was genius. Like taking away his main power. You know, it's not claws, it's healing. You make him a real person who can really get hurt, who feels pain, who has to worry like the rest of us. I thought that was genius.
I know the Silver Samurai is in it, and he's in the trailer, and that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
That was something I was kind of worried about as well, because really, a Silver Samurai in modern day, dumb. But anyway.
Everything about it, I thought, though, just looked really, really cool. Again,
it looked like a freaking Mission Impossible movie.
It did have that kind of a feel, didn't it?
Yeah.
I liked more than anything, I guess, and I'm so sorry, I'll try to wrap this up. I like the deconstruction of Wolverine, of Logan, like taking away the core element of him and seeing what's underneath. I thought that was just a fascinating concept. That more than anything is what I'm really interested in. You know, like Tony Stark and Iron Man, take everything away from you're just a man in a suit. Take that away. What are you?
Right,
billionaire,
exactly.
playboy, genius philanthropist. I want to see what Logan is, and I feel like this movie is finally going to give us a little glimpse into that, and not just.
Maybe it'll give us a glimpse of what Fox is planning to do moving forward as well, because they've been failing at the Marvel thing. They have the rights to the X-Men and Wolverine and the Fantastic Four, I believe, as well as I think Silver Surfer, and they've done nothing with them nothing of note. I mean, X-Men 2 was pretty good.
Yeah, but
overall.
How long ago was that? You know.
Yeah, and you know it was done by a director who has never really taken the subject matter that seriously. It's always been kind of a wink, nudge kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what
like. Yeah, this is silly, right, guys?
Movie.
Yeah. So we'll see. James Mangold seems to be very serious about making this happen. So we'll see where it goes. It definitely seems darker and grittier. We'll see what kind of rating it gets, and how much blood or whatever they'll have to cut out of it to make it PG-13. Because any allusions to the idea that they might make a rated R Wolverine movie, a movie starring a guy who has blades that cut through anything. You know, it's as much as it makes sense. I don't think they'll ever do it. So. Cool. Anyway, yeah, awesome, man.
What about you, brother?
That's some good stuff.
That gets good.
Yeah, staying in comic book land, the test footage that Edgar Wright showed for his Ant-Man film, which is scheduled to come out in November 2015, I believe, finally leaked onto the internet. And holy crap. It is pretty awesome. You know, and it's funny because at some point I think someone wrote out a description and did animatics of what they saw when they were at Comic-Con. And all of that was really impressive. But, you know, for test footage, it's incredibly polished and incredibly well done. So to think that at some point he'll actually be able to do this again with a serious budget behind it really, really has me excited for the idea of an Ant-Man movie. You saw it, right?
Oh, yeah. The only thing, in fact, I didn't like about it was the helmet at the end. The last final shot when the elevator doors close. Because you can't see his face at all.
Right.
And that bothers me. Like, unlike Spider-Man, where you at least get some kind of movement in the mask and things like that, this Ant-Man helmet, you can't see squat. So, compared to his original helmet, where you could at least see his eyes and things like that, his mouth, his face, in the new version, it didn't look like you could really see anything. So I'm hoping that in the real version, they decide to make it a little smaller or do something where he's kind of gonna pop out more.
Yeah, they can have it morph as well. I think in the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes TV series, the version of Ant-Man / Giant Man in that show, his mask does do both. At times it covers just kind of his eyes and his head, leaving his mouth exposed.
Sure.
And at times it kind of closes up and becomes, a full-on helmet. When it does close up, I believe that's when he is able to communicate with ants, because there's kind of a speaker system that wraps around his mouth.
Well, even if they do something like Iron Man, where they show inside, Tony's face against the Tony's face up against the heads-up display, the HUD, like that would be cool. I could live with something like that, but I think we need something to see the guy underneath. But yeah, the footage looks freaking awesome.
Who do we think is going to be in the suit?
I have no idea. Literally none.
My money's on Simon Pegg.
No.
Oh yeah.
No, they would never do that.
Oh yeah.
How could you ever think that's going to happen? I know it's Edgar Wright.
Because he played Scotty.
There's just no way.
If you've got a brilliant scientist who's a little bit kooky and a little bit green, versus, you put him in a room with, later, when they finally get to Avengers 2 or 3, whenever they bring Ant-Man in, you put him in a room with Bruce Banner and Tony Stark, and the three of them just kind of bouncing off of each other. Just thinking about it gets me all excited for the possibility.
I don't think he'll do it. I don't think they'll see Simon as like a tentpole, as a main carry-a movie actor, even though he did it in Shaun of the Dead. I don't think.
Don't forget, Edgar Wright has the other movie coming out.
I know.
Very soon.
I know.
In August.
I know. That looks
starring Simon Pegg.
That looks hilarious too.
I mean, you've got Simon. You're gonna have Simon Pegg, and it's all of the pieces fit together well enough for them to make him a lead actor in that movie, because. And especially with Marvel, because of the way they're hiring lead actors for all of these movies, they're hiring people who are relatively unknown to people. For Thor, you think about it. Even Captain America, Chris Evans is known, but not super well known. Now he's really well known. I forget the guy who they picked to play in Guardians of the Galaxy, but I mean, these people have been.
Oh, is that Chris Pine?
Relatively unknown people.
Not Chris Pine. Is it Chris Pine?
It's not Chris Pine.
No, it's Chris somebody. He's on Parks and Recreation. Chris Pratt.
There you go.
Chris Pratt is his name. Yeah, the guy who they chose to be, well, they think Simon, or what Peter Quill.
Right. So this summer you've got the End of the World, I believe is the name of Edgar Wright's new movie, and then you also have Star Trek Into Darkness. And an announcement from Marvel that after that, Simon Pegg's next thing, or one of his next things, would be playing Ant-Man.
Sure.
It'd be huge. Especially if they announced it at, say, Comic-Con during the summer while all that buzz is going on. I don't know. It's mostly wishful thinking for me right now, but
don't get me wrong. I want to believe it. I think that would be awesome to have him in the suit. Like his humor, his sense of humor, because I know they want it to be kind of an offbeat movie, would be fantastic. Right. But I just don't think he's the superhero type. Look at the Avengers. Like they're all standing up there. Even Mark Ruffalo. Like I just can't picture like little scraggly, scrawny Simon Pegg standing up there with them.
Yeah, I would have said that about every single person in the Avengers before. Even Scarlett Johansson after Iron Man 2.
Don't be mean.
I was like, nah.
Don't be mean.
Nah, son. Nah.
Nah, son.
You guys need to recast Black Widow. This is just not working. And somehow she managed to, between her and Joss Whedon, I kind of have faith that he might be able to fix that problem because he did Buffy, but yeah, he fixed that character in a great way. So,
I have one last note about G.I. Joe Retaliation, the latest trailer, but I know it's coming out this week. But
does that come out this week?
Yeah, man.
Finally.
Yeah, it was put off since what, like last summer, November, or something like that.
Yeah, that movie's been on hold since I was knee high to a grasshopper.
It may have started on Wednesday, actually, yesterday. I'm looking. Yeah, it looks like it's got showtimes right now. Or although,
wow,
I don't know if it's right now or if it's for tomorrow. Either way, it's either coming out.
It's probably for tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's coming out tomorrow. But anywho, the latest trailer I thought looked bad. Like, I don't really care. But the reviews that I'm seeing are saying it's great. Like, it totally smokes G.I. Joe 1. So, I'm intrigued.
Oh, that's not hard. Yeah. I mean, the first G.I. Joe movie is a writer's strike movie. You know, they had like half a script.
Well, like I said, I'm intrigued.
Pieced it together.
I'm intrigued, at least.
Yeah, I've been intrigued. I've been following the director of this movie for quite a while now. He's really big with all the dance films, like Step Up and all that stuff, and he does quite a bit of independent dance filmography stuff on YouTube and etc. So, yeah, he's always had a really good eye for movement and action. And when I heard he was doing G.I. Joe, I thought, well, holy crap, man, he's going to make this happen. It's going to be awesome. He also has the rights. I think the next film he's doing after G.I. Joe will be Masters of the Universe.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
So, and he's trying to get Dolph Lundgren to have a cameo in it, which is even greater. So, yeah, it's a guy who went in saying he loves G.I. Joe, and that first movie sucked, and I got to fix this. So,
well, that's a good start, at least. Anybody who says that, I would agree with. All right, on to the main event.
The main event this week is, as I mentioned at the start of the show, Sam Raimi's suspense thriller titled The Gift.
You learn to leave folks alone.
Can you see what I'm thinking? Can you see that in the cards? There's something bad wrong with me.
If I go down. The real danger begins if someone starts worrying that you're going to have another one of your dreams.
What can we say about The Gift, Joe?
So the first thing I'll say about this movie is I actually watched it when it was in the theater back in 2000. I had my butt in a seat in the year 2000, and I watched this movie when it first came out. So if that tells you anything, that 13 years later, I'm not only willing to review it again, I'm happy to review it again. I think that should tell you something.
Yeah, I'd never heard of this movie at all. When so I saw it on Netflix while browsing around one day, and it kind of caught my eye because I'm gonna keep it real. I saw Cate Blanchett really big on the box, and I was like, hey, and so I wanted to see what this was about, and then I saw Keanu Reeves in the corner, and as far as I knew, there's no cross section between Cate Blanchett and Keanu Reeves. I was like, no, these two are in a movie together. What? And then I kept looking, and I saw Katie Holmes, and I was like, wait, and my mind started kind of bleeding a little bit because it was just too much for me to handle. So then I looked even deeper and saw it was directed by Sam Raimi, and boom, my head exploded everywhere. It just kind of blew me away that something like that existed, and I not only never heard of it, but the more I dug, the more interested I got in seeing it. As I mentioned, it is directed by Sam Raimi. It's written by Billy Bob Thornton and Tom Epperson. Tom Epperson is probably a name you won't know. Most people won't know him. He's one of those guys who kind of just sits in the back as a producer. It's likely that he only had a little bit of help on the script, or gave a little bit of help on the script, but we'll just say for all intents and purposes, Billy Bob Thornton wrote this movie.
Yeah, because I'm looking at Tom's IMDb resume, and none of it is anything we would recognize.
Right.
He got a thanks.
It's a bunch of random stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks for this and TV. But if you look at him as a producer, you see a little bit more. So you kind of get the feeling that this is probably a guy who was coming into Billy Bob's office and telling him, "Hey, man, could we change this to this? I think Superman should razzle a bear," kind of thing.
Giant spider.
So anyway, I'll give a quick synopsis of the movie. The Gift is about a fortune teller living in Brixton, Georgia. Fortune teller is played by Cate Blanchett, who struggles with life as a single mother raising 3 young boys. When she's asked to help with the search for a young woman who has disappeared, her life is forever changed. I tried to do that as spoiler-free as possible.
No, that's good. That's good.
But yeah, that's the basics of the plot. We have Cate Blanchett playing a single mother. She's actually widowed,
playing a widowed mother to 3 boys, which I think.
Right.
You want to talk about
a Southern mother?
Yeah, you want to talk about alienation, man. Her husband has died. She has kids, 3 of them, all boys, all probably within the 8 to 14 range, somewhere around there. But
right.
Her grandmother has passed away. The mother's not in the picture. She has like one kind of girlfriend, but from the get-go, you get a pretty clear picture that this is kind of a woman alone making it on her own or trying her best to make it on her own,
right.
Which is one of the great things I loved about the central character is that she's got so much working against her from the start of the movie that you're rooting for her. You want her to have some kind of a good outcome. You want her to get out ahead,
Right. And, one of the interesting things is the way Sam Raimi it brings you into this world. He introduces you to the character. He introduces you to her environment, to her house, which, by the way, the set design and world building in this movie is incredible. It's incredibly authentic. Her house in general, the first time you see her home, she's kind of cleaning up after the boys and telling them to go to sleep. And, she's picking up pillows and blankets, and it looks like a room where kids have been playing around all day after school. It's a complete mess. She's been working at her job as a fortune teller with people out in the back patio kind of thing. It's really great. I mean, it really pulls you in. You really feel for this poor woman who has to deal with so much. Just piece by piece, they start to introduce you. Here's her house. It's kind of a mess. It's kind of, tough. She's got these 3 boys. They kind of don't listen very well. And then I think in the next scene, you see her car, which is like the biggest, raggediest
POS
you've ever seen. Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of sputtering down the road. It's just like, you feel like, wow, they're just layering on how tough this woman has it in this small town. And then they slowly but surely start to filter in the other characters. And I think that's brilliantly done by Sam Raimi.
So one of the things that I really liked about this movie was that it reminds me a bit of a Stephen King novel in the sense that we focus on the town and its inhabitants. And there just so happens that there are these other supernatural elements occurring in the town. You know what I mean? Like even though it's titled The Gift, the movie isn't really about the woman's special power. It's about the people in the town, the prejudice in the town against this woman who can see the future, who can talk to spirits, but also kind of this rundown backwoods kind of southern hick town where there's the town drunk, there's the town a-hole, the town crazy, you get a good kind of picture of small town rural America, and that story feels like it supersedes the special power, the fortune telling, like you were saying, Jamel. Like, it seems like that's literally her job, and it doesn't take the forefront until it has to, until there's something that happens that she has to use the gift for a purpose to kind of, it's not like it pushes the plot along. It's, here's the plot, and oh yeah, we're going to use our power to further the plot. It's not like it's all conveniently set up for her,
Right. And I mean, when you first see her doing her work, you're not given any explicit understanding that she even has a gift, that she even has any sort of real power. What she's doing feels really light, and she could be pulling the wool over all these people's eyes. So in the beginning, they're not doing anything to show you, yes, this woman is doing this legitimately, but given the circumstances, you don't blame her either way. Moving forward through there.
Going along those same lines, they don't always show you what she's seeing. So like you were talking about, you don't really know if she's legit or not, because sometimes she gets a confused look on her face, or she looks off into the distance, and they don't show you anything. Like, that's all they give you. And so you're left to wonder, what did she see? What was she thinking? What was there some kind of a noise or something that she heard? But they don't tell you. One of the things I like about the movie as well is that Sam Raimi doesn't feel like he needs to spoon feed you plot and or extraneous details. Like, he's like, hey man, you're along for the ride. I'll show you stuff when I feel like showing you stuff. You know, the power that she uses feels like it's never the same twice. You know, it's
right.
She's talking to a dead person one second. She's seeing bodies floating above her. She's seeing stuff in bed. Like, things are happening to her. And as an audience member, I felt like, you said world building earlier. Great job world building. Also really great job not necessarily telling me all the rules for how this power works.
Right.
So I was confused. I was like, oh, like, what's happening? Is this good? Is this bad? How is she going to deal with this? Because at the time, I was trying to play catch up as well. You know, how would I deal with this? How is she possibly dealing with it? And I thought that was just a very interesting choice. Most movies, you set up the world, you set up the rules of the world, the rules of, especially any kind of supernatural movie. These are the powers, and this is how they work. And I feel like this movie bucked all of that and just said, I'm not telling you squat. Like, you'll figure it out as you go, or you won't.
Well, I think he's communicating one strong idea throughout it, though, and that's that what she is seeing, what she is feeling, is that it's muddled and it's confusing. You know, she's not given a clear picture of the future or whatever it is she's seeing at the time. She has to. It's always something she has to work through and think about. Exactly. She's given these puzzle pieces. She has to figure out what they mean still.
Well,
you
and
know,
I feel like that's
and sometimes she has. It seems like she's ignoring them or trying to avoid dealing with them at all because she doesn't know whether it means anything good or bad. You know, sometimes she sees things and she just completely has a bad feeling about something or someone and just completely ignores it and moves right on.
Even when the people
which
ask
is also
her,
interesting.
You seeing something bad?
Right.
No, you're fine. Everything's fine. Because you can tell
right.
she doesn't want to deal with it or doesn't want to go further down that rabbit hole.
I think that all of it is just very delicately handled by Sam Raimi. I think both Cate Blanchett's performance, which is just absolutely phenomenal. She's riveting in this movie, every single second of it. Keanu Reeves and Katie Holmes, who are both playing against type, are also really amazing in this movie. All of them sort of add to the atmosphere of the movie and help, again, with the world building. And they create this town that's living and breathing, and it feels really real. And some of the things that happen based on Keanu Reeves and Katie Holmes' characters especially, they give you a good look at how nasty a town that in the beginning feels. You know, that's another piece of it, is that when you first get into this town, you also don't get it seems like a really nice place.
A little idyllic.
Really comfortable place to live. Yeah, and piece by piece, you start to see the sort of terrible things that lurk beneath,
the seedy underbelly.
Right. And, you know, it's characters like Katie Holmes and Keanu Reeves that really, once they come into play, you really start to realize that this town has some serious problems. And no one's really dealing with them, you know, until they're forced to, which is also really interesting and really well done, the way he introduces all these different elements of the story and the plot. And, as he introduces characters who will become other protagonists and antagonists for the movie.
So one of the things he does really well in this movie as well is giving you not necessarily clearly defined heroes and villains, so to speak. You don't really know who to trust, or it's one of the good things about a thriller is that you don't really know who to trust or who is suspect, who isn't suspect. He sets things up in the first act that everything seems pretty black and white, pretty clear cut, and that you could easily see these people doing these good things or these people doing these bad things, and it doesn't always necessarily go that way. You know, there's right. A lot of realism to it where you have a perception about someone or something, and that's not always right. Sometimes it is, but not always. Even to the point where, you know, you've got some small town sheriff or deputy, I think he's a deputy, who she's complaining to about one of the other people in the town who's being a jerk, and the guy is like, "What are you talking about? We go out squirrel hunting or something like that. We go fishing every week."
Right.
And I'm sure he wouldn't do something like that. Like the idea that it's such a good old boys network in this small town. Once again, this poor lonely widow is pushed down once more. But he's supposed to be a cop, and he's offering her no help, no sympathy, no nothing. And again,
Right.
you don't know the people you're supposed to trust. Sometimes you can't. The people you're supposed to feel are just going to lead you astray, sometimes help out. And I think you don't really see that a lot in movies. Typically, especially these kind of movies, typically it's this person's bad and they're going to die. You know what I mean? And that doesn't happen at all in this movie. But okay, so for the non-spoilerish version then, would you recommend this movie to somebody?
Absolutely. I think it was a absolutely fantastic movie. There are a lot of reasons to watch it. I can give you one, and that's Cate Blanchett. She's absolutely amazing in this movie. Every single second of this movie. I mean, it feels like there's not a scene that she's not in this movie, and I'd have to watch it again to actually be sure of that. But yeah, she absolutely carries this movie. At some point, someone tells her in the movie that you're the heart and soul of this town, and she's the heart and soul of this movie as well. She absolutely carries it. And the co-stars of this movie, the actors and actresses working with her, all do great work as well. But I feel like without that bedrock that she's put down, the movie is not nearly as strong as it ends up being. And so, highly, highly recommend it. It's incredibly well directed. In fact, one of the things that when I brought this movie up to my wife about her watching it, because I told her it was a really great movie and she should check it out, she was worried with it being Sam Raimi that it might be a little too scary. And even the punchiness of his sort of jump scares and things that he does in some of his other films, all of that is dialed back a little bit. And I don't know if it's because if it was intentional or if it was just, maybe he wasn't as strong in his craft at the time he made this movie. I'm not sure what the reasoning is, but I feel like it that being a little bit softer, while there are moments that are a little bit intense and a little bit scary, I think that this is a movie that everybody can enjoy, even those who are a little bit more easily scared by images of violence or disturbing imagery. So yeah, highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. This is a definite. I'd say if we're going to go with a new rating system, I'd say buy this film.
And I can tell you, I do own this film. I bought it back in like 2001 on DVD. I think a year after it first came out. Not the least of which the reason why, spoiler alert, Katie Holmes is topless in the movie. Not because of that at all.
Wait. Hold on a second. Did you say Katie Holmes is topless in this movie?
I don't know if that's a spoiler or not. Hey guys, if you're watching this right now, Katie Holmes gets topless in the movie. Just FYI.
46 minutes and 35 seconds. No, just kidding.
Yeah, this is Mr. Skin. Mr. Skin's Stream Team podcast. Sponsored by Mr. Skin. Yeah, so I can't lie. I mean, it was like 2001. I was just a youngster back then, and that was part of the appeal. But I loved this movie when I saw it in the theater. I love it 13 years later now. There are some parts where it feels a bit dated, either by how some of the people are talking or just some of the things you see in the movie, but it still feels pretty timeless. It could be Small Town USA today versus Small Town USA 2000. There's not much in the movie that, there's no retro cars except for the POS that the girl drives, that Cate Blanchett drives, and some beater trucks and things like that. But
I mean, even that stuff kind of works though, because they are in small town
for the town.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like it's pretty timeless. How many movies can you say that about 13 years later? Yeah, that feels just as good as it did the day of, And there's some moments where you're a little taken out of the movie because it's it's 13 years old, but at the same time, I still think it's fantastic. You go through it trying to figure out, like, to your wife's point, is it a horror movie? Am I going to be scared? You're trying to figure that out as you're watching the movie. Is this horror? Is this a thriller? Kinda. Is it, a supernatural small town drama? Sorta. It has moments of all of that, some more than others, but it doesn't just say I am this and this is the only thing it is. And I think that's one of the main things that I like about it. It refuses to be defined. It is definitely a movie I would buy and I own.
That's a good way to describe it. It refuses to be defined. It's hard to define. I called it a suspense thriller. I think if you go on IMDb, they have completely different genres attached to it. I would almost call it a thriller, but yeah, it does defy that, even that descriptor. So yeah, it's a great movie. I really, really enjoy watching it.
Nice.
I do plan to watch it again because, like I said, I do want to see if Cate Blanchett is in every scene of this movie.
I'm really happy you didn't say.
It really does feel like it.
I'm really happy you didn't say, because I want to see if Katie Holmes does get topless. I totally thought you were going for that. I was like, dude, don't say that, man. Come on.
Oh no! I saw that.
I saw
that.
You mention it, it's entirely possible she's in every single scene. I'm trying to think of a scene where she might not be in it. I can't think of one. There's a few that are bordering on it when they go to pick up some bad guy or things like that. But I'm pretty sure she's either with them or she's on the phone with them or something to that effect.
Right, and I'll adjust that to scenes. Maybe there is something going on in the scene and she's not in front of the camera, but she is in that room.
Yeah.
So this movie is definitely, if nothing else, it's definitely told from her perspective. It is events and things happening that she would have been aware of or been in the immediate area to have seen happen. So
yeah, I'd say that's right.
Yeah, it does feel like she's always there. And again, it takes a lot for an actress to carry a movie in that way. It doesn't happen very often in film, and the fact that she was able to do it and do it so well is incredibly impressive, and especially doing it with a Southern accent, which is really good.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I say that not being Southern. I'm sure some Southern person will say it. That damn red coat came over here.
That damn red coat. Have you ever actually been to the South, man?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't go to the South tomorrow. Just don't do it. Just avoid it.
I apologize to all our listeners from the South.
Hi, y'all. If any of you from the South, we're very sorry.
Joe had some bad crawfish one time, and he's just never been able to get over it.
Never been able to recover fully mentally. No, nobody from the South listens to this podcast. We're fine.
All right. So let's get into spoilers.
Mr. Darcy is a nice bloke. They get together in the end. Rosebud is a sled, and Harvey the rabbit's not pretend. Bruce is a ghost in the sixth sense. The family in the others are too. That's your wife's head in a box, Brad. So is John Doe adieu. What's in the box? What's in the box? Dumbledore dies, Trinity dies, Norman Bates is his mother, he's in a disguise. Snoop dies, Omar dies, and no one really understands Mulholland Drive. It's true, we're gonna spoil it for you. It's true, yeah, it's true, we're gonna spoil it for you.
All right. Now let's talk spoilers. Boy, is Katie Holmes a slut in this movie. Holy crap.
Well said, my friend. Well said.
She does it so well, though. It's like she's a different person.
Well,
in fact, every second she was on film in this movie, she felt... I won't say every second, because when you first see her, you're like, well, that's Katie Holmes. But she starts to seem at least 10 years older than she is at some point. Just because of the way she carries herself. I've seen her, and I think everything she's been in as far as films go, and I might call this her best performance in anything. I mean, she was incredibly convincing. Holy cow. Yeah. Even when she was friggin' dead.
Holy cow.
When she's freaking dead and she's got the one eye thing going on.
I'm trying to see when she was in Dawson's Creek or when
she went
No.
topless.
No. Mr. Skin has that information. Hold on. Dawson's Creek, 1998. Is that when it ended?
I was going to say it's pretty close. It's pretty close to 2000.
So she was in Dawson's Creek till 2003. It says so. Thinking of
right, and I think she did. She was trying to go. I think she was probably trying to go against type.
Oh yeah,
because when did Wonder Boys?
I was going to say her 3 movies, or 2 movies rather. 3 movies leading up to. Well, 4 movies. Everything leading up to this movie was increasingly her being more out there, more overt. She was in Disturbing Behavior in 1998, where she played kind of a goth chick who gets it on in a car with the main character. She was in the movie Go, where she gets left behind by Sarah Polley, her main friend in that movie, and once again plays kind of a slut. She's going for this guy. Teaching Mrs. Tingle. She was totally like into the guy and trying to get him to do stuff for her. Wonder Boys, once again, she was trying to go for what's his name, Michael Douglas's character.
How fast can I take off my shirt?
Yeah, exactly. And then you get The Gift, where she does go topless. And I remember this being
she's topless in both movies, and Wonder Boys as well. It's funny because the scene is almost identical. She's standing next to a car at night and kind of a foresty area. And it's funny because when I saw that scene in The Gift, and God, we're talking way too much about topless Katie Holmes. We'll have to get off the subject very quickly.
Katie Holmes' transition from Dawson's Creek.
But what I'll say is that
for
a second, when she took off her shirt in this movie, because of the way the scene was set up, I was like, have I seen this before? And then I realized what I'd seen is actually Wonder Boys, the scene where she takes her top off in front of Michael Douglas at night, leaning against a car. It's almost the exact same scene. It's really funny,
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, so
well, I guess my point in saying that is that's surprising to me. Like, I thought this was her first go free moment. And for those listening, especially our wives, we love you. This was years ago. What I found interesting about this was her career really picked up after this. Like, I know I've heard the adage that you won't be, for women, you won't be accepted in Hollywood really until you go topless or nude or something like that. And it seems to be kind of the fad these days with the TV show Girls and Spartacus and Game of Thrones. Like, it seems like everybody's going topless now, at least topless. I hear Game of Thrones people get bottomless, guys and girls.
Well, it's a way to break typecasting,
sure.
And it's actually interesting because usually this works, but one person, and this is way off subject, but I just want to bring it up because it came up the other day when I was listening to a radio program, is Anne Hathaway is someone who this has not worked for. She is and she remains a goody two-shoes. And people really dislike her for that. They really feel like she's just this really big goody two-shoes. And I think she has done this kind of thing where she's tried to play bad girls. In the movie Havoc, she played, the baddest of bad girls and went topless and did all that stuff. And then again in Brokeback Mountain. And she can't seem to break out of this goody two-shoes image, which is really, I think, harmful for her career. I think she's a great actress and I like everything I've seen her in, but I know there's a lot of people who just do not like her. And so, again, all of this is to say in a very roundabout way is that Katie Holmes took off her top in this movie.
Well, not even that. She played against type. She was this very slutty girl where, again, she was in Dawson's Creek. She's making Dawson's Creek during the school year, I guess. And then in the summertime goes to make this movie The Gift, where she plays this crazy, rich, adventure, thrill-seeking, risk-taking slut. You know what I mean? There's a scene in the movie where she tells some random guy, you don't even know who the guy is. It's played by Gary Cole, so you know the actor but not the character. They're in a bathroom at some party, and Cate Blanchett stumbles into the door and sees them in there, and the guy tells her, like, someone might come in, someone might see us. And she says, you better F me fast then, which coming out of Katie Holmes' mouth, again, during Dawson's Creek, I was like, oh, Katie, what happened? So phenomenal job by her for signing up for it, first of all, for wanting to be more than just whatever her character's name was, Joey something on Dawson's Creek. But it wasn't just a role that she took on and played at.
Joey Potter.
What? Joey Potter.
Joey Potter.
Only you, dude. Only you would know. That she wasn't just playing the role; she took on the role, and she did a good job of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to steer this towards people playing against cast and steer it back into a direction that has nothing to do with Katie Holmes being topless. Let's talk a little bit about Keanu Reeves, who also is playing against type in this film.
Yeah, going from...
And again, I mean, incredible performance. Holy crap. The first time you see him, you were absolutely frightened of his character. And, unlike, with Katie Holmes, it took a few seconds to wrap my head around this new character she was playing. I'd say it probably took a scene. The first scene I saw her in, I was like, oh, I'm not really sure about her playing this character. And then the next scene, it was like, oh, wow, this is just a different person than I thought she was. With Keanu Reeves, the very first time you see him, he is this frightening, scary redneck. And that never changes through the entire film. And he just gets scarier and scarier.
So he's what I was talking about earlier, where you really think that he could have easily killed this girl. I mean, so spoilers, Katie Holmes gets killed in the course of the movie. Probably about halfway through, she gets killed. And the movie shifts from kind of being about Cate Blanchett's character trying to make it on her own to now being brought in as a investigator by the police because of her special powers, her special gift. Everyone wants her help in finding out who killed Katie Holmes' character. And at no point in the movie, especially as it slowly begins to come out that Katie Holmes and Keanu Reeves in the movie had a relationship together, all I'm thinking is, oh, that MFer killed her. No problem. Yeah, he did it. Right. They find her body on his property. I mean, all signs point to crazy redneck Keanu Reeves. So... And he lives up to it, man. I'm with you, Jamel. Like, every time he came on camera, increasingly as the movie went on, I was like, he just freaking walks up to Cate Blanchett at one point in front of cops, in front of other people, and slugs her in the stomach. And not a single guy punches him. Not a single guy jumps on him. Like, they're all like, hey.
There's no doubt. There's no pause. He's on a mission to walk over there and punch this woman in the stomach.
You goddamn witch! And just walks over it, and nobody stops him. Nobody's even like, hey, Donnie, you want to calm down a little bit? You want to take it easy on the girl? No, he walks right up and just slugs her right in the stomach, and she goes down like a sack.
Good old J.K. Simmons does pull out his gun and say, all right, that's enough of that.
After, though, right?
Yeah, I would assume that everybody standing there thought it wouldn't go any further than maybe a shove.
I don't know. Even still,
in fact, I wonder even if like Sam Raimi was on set and he's like, oh yeah, here comes the scene where Keanu's gonna walk over and give her a shove, and he got way into his character and he walked over and punched Cate Blanchett in the stomach. If they told me that was real, I'd be like, yeah, totally, I got it. Totally, that makes sense. Yeah,
he gets increasingly crazy. I mean, he starts going after Cate Blanchett's kids. Like threatening I'll kill you, I'll kill your mama. I mean, like, he becomes the guy that you want to be the bad guy. When there's a courtroom scene where he's getting tried essentially, and the whole time I was like, please say Donnie did it, which is Keanu Reeves' character. Please say this bastard did it, because I really want him to serve time. And even when Cate Blanchett starts to realize he's not the guy who did it, she doesn't know who the guy who did it is, but she knows it's not him. Everybody's basically telling her, like, woman, shut up. Like, we got our guy. He's a bastard. Like, let him rot in jail. And she's trying to tell them, there's a killer out there. And they're all like, yeah, it's Donnie. Don't worry about it. It's great. Like, that's the cool thing about the movie, is that not that everybody suddenly becomes a crusader. Oh, shit, we need to find the right guy who did it because, we're sleeping in the same town as a killer. They're all like, yeah, we got the bad guy. Relax. No, you didn't get the killer.
Yeah, he is a bad guy.
Yeah, but he's a very bad guy.
It doesn't matter if he's the bad guy.
He's a wife beater. Guy. He's a kid threatener. He punches chicks in the stomach. I mean, he drives a big ass lifted truck. The guy's a douche. And the idea that, again, small town America, his fishing buddy, when he's telling Cate Blanchett's character, like, he's my fishing buddy, I don't believe he would ever do that. He slugs her in the frickin' stomach in the next scene. And his wife, played by Hilary Swank, is always battered and bruised. So he's just a bad guy. And when he goes down for the crime, ain't nobody looking to get him out of jail, spring him from the big house, you know?
From the very beginning, I was thinking about the way his character is introduced for the very first time. You've heard of his character.
Oh no, if
Hilary
Donnie finds
Swank
out
before
I'm here,
he's introduced.
He'll beat me something. Side. Look at my eye. Look what he did to my eye. Yeah, you're totally told that he's going to be pissed that she's there.
Right. So when he shows up at Cate Blanchett's house, and she lets him in, again, master at work, Sam Raimi. You get a piece of his eye, and you get enough of his voice to kind of realize this is Keanu Reeves.
She's looking at him,
and I think that's
she's looking at him through the door. She's got the security chain on the door because she's been kind of expecting this guy, and he comes up kind of soft and. Ma'am, it's Donnie Barksdale, ma'am, and I heard my wife came to visit you earlier today, ma'am, and I just really want to talk. He's coming in all soft, and you can see him through that little 3-inch gap or whatever from the door.
Right, and I think, and this is the one place maybe where, him being Keanu Reeves, where that actually sort of comes into effect, because I think you as the viewer, it's a tense scene, but you let your guard down.
It's Keanu Reeves.
Shit, that's Keanu Reeves.
That's
What's he gonna do?
Or Ted from Bill and Ted's. Like, it's cool.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna come. He's gonna come in there. He's gonna smoke some pot.
Or a couple years earlier, like,
fine.
oh, that's just Neo. It's Neo from the Matrix. What's he gonna do?
It's fine. It's
just
Neo.
fighting the agents.
And so he walks into the house, and immediately the camera swings around behind him, so you don't get a look at his face. And she lets him in, and he immediately just kind of walks into the house. Like he owns the place almost. And it's very unsettling. And he kind of, there's a mobile the kids made hanging on the ceiling, and he kind of walks over and he touches it. And the first thing out of his mouth is, something about, practicing that Satan worship or something like that,
Goddamn
I believe.
Devil worshipping.
And his words, he sang them in a soft tone, but his words couldn't be more harsh. To a woman that he's apparently just really meeting for the first time, and it's really scary. She's in her house alone with her kids. She's completely vulnerable, and this apparent wife beater has just walked in and he starts threatening her. And it's an amazing scene and a great way to introduce his character and show everybody watching that Keanu Reeves, yes, this is Keanu Reeves, and yes, he's scary. You're scared. I understand you're scared. We made you scared. It's really great. So yeah, high marks all around for Keanu Reeves. Great performance as Donnie Barksdale.
So continuing on the gets more crazy throughout the course of the film. Giovanni Ribisi is also in this movie. And he plays a character named Buddy Cole, which is a very innocuous name, Buddy. And you can tell kind of early on that he's maybe a little...
Well, he seems harmless.
Yeah, a little deficient.
Initially.
A little deficient, mentally speaking, but, nice guy, helping,
This guy's the town slowpoke.
Yeah, very
basically.
Gifted.
Is the
very
idea
gifted
you
with
get.
Like mechanical things and fixing cars, and he likes to help. The first time we really get to see him, he's offering to fix Cate Blanchett's car for free. No, you've done so much for me. I got to help you. Like he's very sweet. Sweet would be a good word to describe his character in the movie.
You're the only person in this town I count a friend of mine.
Exactly. Oh, well, that's very nice of you to say, buddy. We're just going to reenact the movie for you now, folks. So what's really disturbing is as the movie continues, you get to see more cracks appear in his facade, in Buddy's facade, and he starts to just break down more and more and more, and he becomes this really
He's unraveling.
this really unstable personality, and you're not entirely sure why. Something's up with him, and Cate Blanchett's characters helped him, but you don't really understand what, and Sam Raimi doesn't say crap about what's gone on with this guy before. So you're kind of left wondering. And you just see him...
His is done less slow than everybody else, though, in that you go from him being this super nice guy, and then he says some things that make you feel a little bit weird, and immediately it's like someone just cracked a glass. Like he's just, he's completely. You realize this guy is completely unstable, and he's on the borderline of just cracking all of a sudden.
And you're right about the things that he's saying being disturbing and awkward, and
and from that first break, it's like he begins to slowly unravel the further the movie goes on, and becomes more and more unstable. And every time his character comes on screen, you start to get more and more uncomfortable.
Even when
along with that,
even when he's helping out, you still are like, oh my gosh, get the hell away from this guy. There's a scene in the movie where Keanu Reeves is going after one of Cate Blanchett's kids, and he basically grabs a hold of the boy and you don't know what he's going to do. He might pull the boy into a truck like a kidnapping. He might hit the boy. He might do something. And all of a sudden, Giovanni Ribisi's character appears. And you're thinking, oh, thank God. Like, Buddy's going to help this boy. Like, he's always helping Cate Blanchett's family. He's good. And Keanu Reeves sees him. And immediately Keanu was like, we're good here, buddy. Like, no need to worry. Because you can tell, like,
he says, mind your business.
Oh, crap. I think Keanu's a little bit scared of Buddy. Buddy's a little unhinged. And sure enough, Buddy reaches into his truck, pulls out a crowbar, because you have him in your truck, and just walks right up. And
fantastic scene, because like he just slowly gets out of his truck. Keanu Reeves says, hey, you know what, Buddy, mind your business. And he's like, it's like, oh, no, that's what I'm going to do right now, Donnie. I'm going to mind my business. And he gets out of the truck, goes into the back, grabs a crowbar, and walks slowly up and just starts destroying the truck.
Beating the crap out of the windshield, the headlights, the hood, everything. And Keanu Reeves is screaming at him. I'm wondering why the guy driving the car isn't driving off, just like, get the hell out of there. Because Giovanni Ribisi, like I said, goes completely unhinged. And you're fighting for him. At the same time, you're like, this guy is a bastard. Keanu Reeves' character needs to have his car beaten up. But
right. Keanu Reeves pulls a gun on him, and immediately Buddy just drops the crowbar and pushes his head against the gun. Just,
shoot me! Shoot me! Just starts. And that's where it becomes... oh, crap. It goes from like, thank God, Buddy's saving the little boy, to, oh my God, everyone get away from Buddy.
Crazy.
Buddy is crazy. Buddy is just crazy. And that's the point of the movie where you really see Buddy start sliding down. And it's like if there's an A and a B story to every movie, the A is the main plot, the B is like the love story or whatever it is. This would be like a C or a D plot line, what happens with Buddy's character or why Buddy's going crazy. But when you get down to it, the little hints they've dropped throughout the movie, the blue diamond, why do I think bad thoughts when I look into the blue diamond? Am I going to die when I look into the blue diamond? He says these really weird things you don't quite understand, and you think he's talking on the level to Cate Blanchett because she's supernatural and she has a gift, and maybe this makes sense because you don't really know their history. And she seems just as confused as we are. When you finally figure out what the blue diamond is, you totally understand why this guy is crazy. You totally, and I know this is spoiler territory, but I want to leave some things unspoiled. It just, because it's a thriller and you're supposed to.
That's an incredible reveal, and it comes out of nowhere. It's like a sock in it's a punch to the jaw.
It's Keanu Reeves walking up and slugging you in the stomach when you least expect it.
Exactly, because I mean, so much is going on at that point in the film that when this happens, it is a complete shock. Yet you feel like, yes, of course, this is where this was always going. And it continues to, I mean, even after the major reveal, there are other small reveals that help make everything else make more sense, like with the blue diamond, etc. It's incredible.
That's what's great about the whole movie, is that all of it seems to eventually get wrapped up, that there's little hints dropped for stuff that you don't even realize, but as it continues on, you're like, oh, that's what that was an hour and a half ago or 45 minutes ago or 25 minutes ago, that Sam Raimi doesn't necessarily tell you. Again, spoon feeding, I was talking about it earlier. He doesn't say, this is what to expect, this is what you're going to get. He just moves the plot along, and you have to kind of catch up or pick up, oh crap, I saw that earlier, they were talking about that earlier. And it's just really well done that way.
Yeah, and unlike many mainstream films you see nowadays, there are all, like you said, there are all these different threads going. Yeah. But in most films, what they'll try to do, especially in the post M. Night Shyamalan era, they try to have all the threads come together into one ball of yarn at some point, where in this movie the threads start moving this way and that, and eventually they don't come together. You realize that there are all these other balls of thread that they're all connecting to, and they do connect and they all make sense, but they're not necessarily tied to the
it's not tied up in a nice little bow,
line.
but everything is tied up, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, it's really, really great. This movie has a lot of meat to it.
So
you gotta chew it up good before you try to swallow it.
So I know we're in spoilers. If you don't want to hear, I mean, this is a thriller. You're not supposed to know what's happening or who done it, so to speak. It's a mystery. So if you don't want to hear who did it, turn the shits off now.
Double spoilers.
Double spoiler alert.
We're just spoilers and the spoilers
again. You have
again.
been warned.
Spoilers for the spoilers.
You have been warned. So Greg Kinnear, who is the love interest, I talked about the A and the B story. He becomes the love interest. He's engaged to Katie Holmes in the movie, but you can see she's too young for him. She's too wild for him, whereas Cate Blanchett, who's been without her husband for over a year now and is in his same age range, they seem to have more in common, is clearly supposed to be the person that he's with. You're rooting for these people. And indeed, even Cate Blanchett's friends in the movie are rooting for her and this guy to get together. When his fiancée gets knocked off, gets killed, even the friend is like, now, she's disappeared. You don't know what happened to her. It's before we find out she's dead. Even the friend's like, maybe now you and he can get together. Like, everyone wants to see these two people hook up. When you find out that his fiancée is dead, it's tragic and all, but you see them still getting closer and closer and closer. And then as the movie progresses, you still feel so much sympathy for this guy who lost his fiancée, and he's milking it for everything he can get, and he's just the grieving fiancé. And then the movie pulls the rug out from underneath you, and you feel your stomach drop like you're on a ride at Disneyland or something. And he's not such the good guy. You want to talk about that a little bit, Jamel?
Yeah, you know what? Before we do that, I want to say one thing about Greg Kinnear before we actually get to how this all comes together. I think he was the weakest link in the movie, and not because of his performance. I think his performance was fine. I think the way... Maybe it is his performance. He didn't feel like he belonged in that town.
Sure.
Like, he really stuck out like a sore thumb, and I thought maybe they could throw in some backstory to, like, where he went to school, where he came from, how long he's lived there. That might make a little bit more sense. Like, hey, this guy moved here from New York years ago, blah, blah, blah. But no, he's been around, apparently in this town for years and years. Yet he has no
accent, no
accent, not even kind of, it's the tiniest bit of an accent or the hint of an accent. He is a teacher, but yes, he's well spoken, well dressed, and he just does not fit in this town. And it feels, from the first time you meet him, if he feels a little bit out of place, and you get over it because of his performance. Thankfully, he's good enough that after a while you kind of just say, okay, fine, whatever, fish out of water, whatever, it works. And you start to empathize with his character, especially after Katie Holmes goes missing, and all the pieces of what's going on with that come together before you realize that he is in fact the killer.
Yeah, he seems like a jilted lover at first, and just a genuinely nice guy that you care about, and he cares about her kids. I don't know if he's the principal of the school her kids go to, or the superintendent.
It seems like he's the principal.
I think he might be.
He's so freaking Greg Kinnear that there are moments in the movie when for a second you think that he might be the killer, and you're like, no, he's too nice.
And I think they use that to their advantage. The guys casting the movie, let's take one of the nicest guys in Hollywood who always plays a good guy, let's put him as a good guy, and then the last 20 minutes of the movie, whoosh, pull out the rug and just be like, gotcha, suckers, when...
Right, I mean, even when he turns at the end, he never really goes full psycho. He never goes full retard.
Never go full retard, man. There's a brilliantly played moment in the movie where he brings Cate Blanchett's character she knows something's off. She knows Donnie's not the killer, or Keanu Reeves' character isn't the killer, but she's not sure who it is. She's getting some flashes, some warnings, but she doesn't know who it is. So he's trying to get her to read him, and once again, she kind of comes up empty. So he says, well, let's go to the lake. Let's go to where she was found. And so they go there, and that's where Cate Blanchett starts to really have all these visions of what happened that night, that Katie Holmes didn't go off with Keanu Reeves' character. She went off with Greg Kinnear, and it starts to get weird at that point in these flashbacks, and you realize something's off.
And as per usual, the flashbacks are incredibly confusing. Right. You know, you see a lot of images, you see a lot of things, and it's hard. Again, you know, shout out to Sam Raimi, because at this point, you're starting to feel fairly certain that Greg Kinnear is the killer, and these flashbacks really disturb those feelings. You know, they really confuse those feelings, and it's really well done, because you can never until the very end, he never lets you grasp onto that thought that is he the killer?
The whole time you're still thinking,
we're showing Buddy.
Who's going to come in and who's going to come in and who's going to kill her instead of Greg Kinnear? No, is it Greg? Is it Greg Kinnear? Really, Greg Kinnear?
Yeah, exactly.
So what I loved about the scene, the big reveal scene, is that even when Greg Kinnear admits to her and says, I know I wanted you to come here because I needed to tell you this. You needed to know this about me. I wanted you to know she was horrible, and Donnie's in jail, and this is really the way it should be. She's gone, and now we can be together. Like, he's still, you realize he's crazy. Like, he told her, he just admitted to her he killed his fiancée because she was sleeping around, but we're still cool, right? Like, he's looking at her like, we're just going to get over this. And he has no intent of hurting her. He has no intent of hurting her. Even though Cate Blanchett has had flashes that he's going to fucking hurt her, he has no intention of doing it until he, like, reaches out for her and she shies away. Like, she pulls back like, no, I don't want to be here anymore. Let's just go. And when he reaches for her and he realizes she's scared of him, when he realizes she knows I killed someone and she's never going to be able to get past this, because that's what crazy people think.
She says, I won't tell.
Yeah. I won't tell anybody. He gets this look on his face at first like he's confused, and then he's kind of hurt, and then he realizes, you're going to tell. And Greg Kinnear, exactly. You said it earlier, like he might be one of the weakest links in the movie, but that scene is very well played. Like, this little hurt little puppy and confused and hurt little puppy just turns into this, like, I gotta bite you. Like, you know, like, all right, now I gotta kill you too.
And weak link makes it sound worse than it is.
When we talk about the stellar performance,
what I will say is that this movie is so strong. So strong. Even Greg Kinnear, every single person in this movie is so strong that, you know, him not doing quite as well a job as creating a character that feels a little bit more organic to the city, to the town that they're in, makes his character slightly less than. And when I say, very slightly.
If we're talking about a scale
of
1 to 10, if everybody else is a 9 or a 10, we're not talking about dudes at 2. We're saying he's like a 7.
Right.
You know, like, he's still really good.
You know, maybe even an 8, 8.5.
Yeah, he's still really good, but he is.
He nails it at the end of this movie. He absolutely knocks it out of the park. And in that scene,
that's where I really felt like he belonged there. Like, for the first time, you get to see behind the facade that he's been putting on, this I'm this hurt, you know, fiance. You really get a glimpse of who he's been trying to play who he really is this entire movie, not who he's been trying to play. And that like 5 seconds where he's hurt, or he's confused, then he's hurt, and then he's just, I gotta kill you, just crazy, is phenomenal. I thought that was a really good reveal. Even though you know he's the killer, he's still not the killer until he turns on Cate Blanchett. Then you're like, oh, it's on. It's on.
Yeah, and you know what? Even at that point, you almost sympathize with him for wanting to kill Katie Holmes' character. When she finally sees the flashback and she sees exactly what happened.
Katie Holmes is.
You know, you're like, oh my God, talk about provoking somebody into.
She's sleeping around with everybody. She's calling him names. basically challenging his libido and his manhood.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, she's just a horrible person. You realize that, but not. She doesn't deserve to get killed, and definitely not killed and left in a.
Oh, she got killed.
She got
killed. Like he just killed her. Like he choked her out and stripped her down and then wrapped her in a chain.
Her ass
like he was
in
mad.
A swamp.
Yeah, he hulked out. Greg Kinnear hulked out. Maybe that's what's wrong with him. Maybe he's a little Bruce Banner, but like he hulked out and he killed her.
That's a good way to look at it. So continuing on into spoiler territory, just as he's about to kill Cate Blanchett, she's rescued once again as her family keeps getting rescued by Giovanni Ribisi's character Buddy, and Buddy, and it's Buddy seems like he's got it together. Like for the first time in half the movie, he seems like he's good. He's solid. He knows what he's there for.
He's clear.
He's ready to help her.
He says it actually almost as soon as you see him when she talks to him. He says, "I'm free now."
How did you get out?
And
they had you at the mental hospital in the next city or whatever. And he says,
"Yeah, well, he says I'm free before, and it feels more related to." He talks about having this wall in his head that he can't get past, and after the reveal that happens, that we're not going to spoil, despite the fact we're in spoilers with the blue diamond and all that. You feel like maybe he had some kind of breakthrough, and now his head is clear. You know, and he says, "I'm free." And then later she asks him, "How'd you get out?" And he says, "I broke out." And, you feel like,
it's all
okay,
believable.
Buddy's got his stuff together.
Just so you know,
totally.
The reason I don't want to spoil the blue diamond thing is the performance is just so beautiful. It's just so good. I mean, it's not like you want to watch it with your kids or put it on with your parents or anything like that. Like, it's heart-wrenching. But
that's saying as intense.
But Giovanni Ribisi just does such an amazing job, and I don't want to spoil it. Like, he's kind of a weird guy in general from the movies I've seen him in, the interviews I've seen him give, and I feel like I don't think he'll ever be like a leading man type of guy, but it's in these kind of moments where I feel like the dude's got the chops. He may not have the look, he may not have the ability, but he's got the chops to really get some serious acting going on. And in this scene that, like I said, I don't want to spoil, like it's evident. It is evident this guy has got the real deal. He is the real deal.
Right.
So,
yeah, and I mean, even at the end, the way his character has this complete transformation is also incredible. So he saves Cate Blanchett, and they grab Greg Kinnear's knocked out ass and throw him in the trunk, and drive back to the police station, and they have a really nice discussion while they're in the car. Just him reiterating that she's a friend and that he loves her, and he, despite some of the differences they had towards the end of the movie, that he still considers her a friend, and things are good between them.
Good
basically.
Closure.
Yeah. You get again tying up all the threads for this movie. The Buddy story is a separate thread that gets tied up really quite nicely, and again another reveal, which. After she goes into the police station and she comes back out, Buddy's disappeared, and she later finds out that, in fact, Buddy has been dead for hours.
Hung himself in the psychiatric prison where he was being held. So, again, like you were saying earlier, like all the little pieces he laid down, like the "I'm free" and "I broke out" and all those things, like you start to realize, like, oh my gosh, like she was hanging out with a ghost. She just got help from a ghost. A ghost just saved her life. She's driving around with a ghost in the car. And once again, just another great aspect of this movie that I didn't see. I remember in the theater, I had no idea that was coming. No idea. I didn't, totally out of left field. All I kept thinking is, Buddy's always there to save the day. I love this guy. And
I had an idea, unfortunately. I felt like, for whatever reason, I kind of saw that coming. Just, I think his transformation was a little too much. And I think that's what gave it away to me. And maybe it's just because it's something that happens so commonly when you have a character that's a ghost or an angel or something in a movie, where they go from kind of dirty and disheveled to incredibly clean and well kempt. Has he combed his hair? They went a little too far. If Buddy would have just looked like Buddy, but his performance would have matched what he did, if he did still feel like this character that had it together without getting up and combing his hair and washing his clothes. I think I might not have thought that right away. I did think that, and when it happened, it was just more so confirmed than it was a surprise. But it was still a great reveal, regardless. I like that the story went there, and I think that Sam Raimi actually did some editing earlier in the movie to make sure that he didn't tip his hand to this. That not only could Cate Blanchett see ghosts, but they could actually interact with her and interact with the world in which she lives, and that. There's a scene where her grandma comes to her in the beginning, and her grandma actually played
it's Peter Parker's mother from the Sam Raimi Peter Parker series.
Yeah, Rosemary Harris. Yeah, we'll talk about the Spider-Man connection in a second and the connections to other Raimi stuff. But yeah, Rosemary Harris, who played Aunt May in Spider-Man, she gives her a basket of fruit, and when she disappears, looking at the scene, it seems like Cate Blanchett was still holding the fruit, which gives you the idea that, there's some crossover between the living and the dead, that she could have actually brought her the fruit. But he cut the shot in such a way, and it actually feels like a shot where he zoomed in, because the picture degrades a little bit, as it would when you watch a pan and scan movie or something like that, because they've zoomed the shot in. I feel like he zoomed it in just enough that you can't see the basket in her arms, so that he wouldn't tip his hand to that. Because the other piece of Buddy's reveal is he gives her the baby wipe that she gave him earlier in the film to clean his to wipe away some tears. He gives it to her, and she still has it even after she realizes he was
She's
a ghost.
got proof that,
showing
to herself
that,
at the very least, that he was really there.
Right. And some connection between the other side and the physical world, which also was pretty powerful. That scene is enough to give you goosebumps. It's kind of just like the last little punch you needed, punch in the gut, if you will, to really seal that reveal in at the end. It's really great.
Yeah, I said it earlier in the non-spoiler version. Like, I love the movie in 2000, and I still love it today. I think it's not the greatest movie of all time. It's not Oscar worthy, I don't feel like, because of the subject matter and just some of the suspension of disbelief you have to give, but solid performances from everybody.
I feel like Cate Blanchett could have got a nod for this movie.
Like,
or should have got a nod.
Like a Golden Globe or something like that, but I don't think an Oscar. Like, I think that's...
And she got punched in the gut by Keanu Reeves. Are you kidding me?
You know what? I retract my statement. Good point. I think everybody that gets punched in the gut by Keanu Reeves should at least be a contender for an Oscar.
Yeah.
But I highly recommend it. Like, even though we spoiled some of the stuff in here, which is kind of odd that we should spoil everything, but I think you and I both have the same opinion. When it's a crappy movie, I'm happy to spoil everything. Even when it's a decent movie, I'm like, oh, this happened, this guy died, this thing went on. But this movie, I'm like,
right, because
it's fun to make fun of. It's fun to say why it's stupid that they did stuff like that. But this movie, like, I don't want to spoil it. I know that's my job right now, but I don't want to do it. I want to go watch the damn movie.
So yeah, in closing, The Gift is a fantastic movie. Joe and I both agree. Definitely worth seeing. Maybe even worth buying. There aren't enough good things I can say about this movie. It's really fantastic. Great performances all around, as we said. Greg Kinnear's still awesome. Even though we said he's a little bit less than, he's still great. Like an 8.5 compared to everybody else's 9.5s and 10s.
Make sure you watch this movie at night, in the dark, lights turned off. Like, you could watch it during the daytime, but don't puss out, man. Do it right. Get a bowl of popcorn, pee first.
Exactly.
Sit down and watch this movie all the way through. Put down your phone, turn it off, your iPad, whatever.
Pee first so you don't pee when you see half-naked Katie Holmes.
One eye half-naked Katie Holmes. That's not as sexy.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think we've decided what we're going to watch for next week's show.
We're mixing it up a little bit. We're getting away from the VHS and the Gift type movies, the horror movies.
Yeah. The movie's called From Time to Time, and it stars Alex Edel, Timothy Spall, and Maggie Smith. Timothy Spall and Maggie Smith, both from the Harry Potter series.
Maggie Smith also from Downton Abbey. as well as Hugh Bonneville, who plays Lord Grantham on Downton Abbey. Both those people.
Sounds really interesting. And if you think it's interesting, take some time over the next few days to watch it on Netflix. You can tune in with us and not have to go away when spoiler time comes around.
And oh snap, I just realized the guy who wrote and directed the movie, Julian Fellows. Does that name sound familiar? Yeah,
it does sound very familiar.
Julian Fellows. You might know him as the creator of Downton Abbey, actually. Yeah, the guy who writes and created Downton Abbey also wrote From Time to Time. So if you like Downton Abbey, you'll love From Time to Time.
All right, folks.
Oh wait, I'll do it in Young Joe's voice.
Thanks for watching Stream Team Podcast, guys. We had a great time hanging out with you. See you next week. Bye.
Bye. Don't mind me. I'm just gonna go masturbate. It's fine. I'm 8. 8's too young. That's creepy. Let's do like 13 or something. That's
exactly.
Creepy.
I was gonna say. Stuff like that.
All right, guys. See you next time.
Podcast is filmed in front of a live studio audience and features music by Broke for Free and the Not Quite Quartet. For show notes and more info, visit streamteam.tumblr.com.